September 11, 2001, a date that changed the world forever. But more than 2 decades later, questions still linger. Questions many people are too afraid to ask. What really happened that morning? Who truly knew what was coming? And how deep does the rabbit hole go? In the official story, 19 hijackers associated with Al-Qaeda coordinated the deadliest terrorist attack in history. The planes struck the Twin Towers, another hit the Pentagon, and a fourth crashed in Pennsylvania. Nearly 3,000 lives were lost, but from the very beginning, certain details didn't quite add up. Why did the most powerful intelligence agencies in the world, the CIA, FBI, and NSA, fail to stop an attack that was planned for months, maybe even years? Why did multiple intelligence warnings from foreign governments go unheeded? Germany, Israel, Egypt, Russia all allegedly sent warnings of an impending large-scale attack. Were these warnings ignored or deliberately set aside? And then there's the most haunting question of all: could it have been an inside job? The timeline itself raises eyebrows. On the morning of 9/11, the U.S. military was conducting multiple war game exercises, including scenarios involving hijacked planes. How could this possibly be a coincidence? These drills reportedly caused confusion in air defense response times. Was this just bad timing or perfect timing? Many people point to the collapse of World Trade Center Building 7, a building that wasn't hit by any plane, as one of the greatest mysteries of that day. At 5:20 p.m., the 47-story steel skyscraper suddenly crumbled into its own footprint at near free-fall speed. The official explanation cites office fires. But never in history had a steel-framed skyscraper collapsed from fire alone. Why did this building fall so perfectly? Even stranger, news networks like the BBC reported the collapse of Building 7 before it actually happened, with the building still standing in the background of the live shot. How could anyone know it would fall? Eyewitnesses, firefighters, police officers, first responders reported
hearing explosions in the lower floors of the towers before and during their collapse. Some described it as like controlled demolition. Could their testimonies all be wrong? Or were they ignored because they didn't fit the narrative? The Pentagon strike also remains shrouded in mystery. Flight 77, a massive Boeing 757, supposedly slammed into one of the most secure buildings on Earth. Yet to this day, there is no clear footage showing the moment of impact. Just a few blurry frames. Why has the full video never been released? And how did an untrained pilot manage a complex downward spiral at incredible speed, striking the building at ground level, precisely at the site undergoing renovations, minimizing casualties? Coincidence again, or something more? Then there's the matter of the passport. The passport of one of the alleged hijackers was reportedly found on the street, completely intact, despite the plane and towers being incinerated.
How does a paper passport survive what even steel could not? Financial questions also surround 9/11s. In the days leading up to the attacks, there were massive put options placed on United and American Airlines stocks, baits that their share prices would plummet. Someone made millions. Who knew in advance that those planes would be involved? And what about the missing trillions? Just one day before the attacks, on September 10, 2001, then Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld admitted that the Pentagon could not account for $2.3 trillion. The next day, the section of the Pentagon that was struck was the very area where budget analysts were investigating that missing money. What are the odds? Many high-ranking officials and intelligence figures seem to have been warned not to fly that day. Some canceled trips, others changed schedules. Meanwhile, thousands of ordinary people went to work as usual. Was this simply a chain of coincidences, or something orchestrated from the inside? And let's not forget, within hours of the attack, before any real investigation, the US government named Osama bin Laden as the prime suspect. Yet no evidence directly linking him to the planning of 9/11s was presented at the time. Why was the conclusion drawn so quickly? The attack then became the justification for two major wars, Afghanistan and Iraq, conflicts that cost trillions of dollars, reshaped global politics, and expanded surveillance powers in the U.S. through the Patriot Act. Who benefited most from 9/11's? Oil companies, defense contractors, intelligence agencies. Why were the 9/11's families, survivors, and whistleblowers often silenced or ignored? Why did the 9/11's commission admit later that it was set up to fail? Why were key witnesses not called, evidence destroyed, and timelines altered? Why did President Bush and Vice President Cheney refuse to testify separately under oath? Why was crucial testimony classified? Why were black box recorders from the planes never released to the public? And why were dozens of Saudi nationals, including members of the bin Laden family, allowed to fly out of the country while all other flights were grounded? The truth about 9/11 remains clouded by secrecy, silence, and unanswered questions. Some see a coordinated intelligence failure, others see deliberate manipulation, and some believe we may never know the full story. But one thing is undeniable: 9/11 changed everything. It gave unprecedented power to intelligence agencies, justified wars, reshaped global security, and rewrote history. But at what cost? The families of nearly 3,000 victims still deserve full transparency. The American people deserve to know the truth. And the world deserves answers to the questions that have haunted it for decades. Was it truly a terrorist attack no one saw coming, or was it something else? Something far darker, hidden in plain sight,